am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video-on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, and Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, gory genre offerings. With me this week is my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, bud?
The ladies from the Red Hat Club aren't buying your story, Doc. They'd like to talk to you.
I am lost. I am adrift.
Well, it was either that or please call me Ephraim the Leader Man. But anyway.
All right. Also joining us this week is I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm so confused too. I'm like, wait, what?
Dave, do you know? Dave, do you know?
Those are both lines from Along Came the Devil, too.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Jeff.
Really?
Both of them were in there? Really?
Yep. Well, the one was part of the song.
Well, that's
okay.
not fair.
Anyway.
That's not fair.
All right,
but
fair enough.
All right.
We lost not only us, but the entire audience. Come on back.
Yes.
Come on back. All right. Also joining this week is Crystal Cleveland, the living dead girl. Crystal, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. I got to see you again this weekend, which is always a pleasure. We got to hang out and have some fun, so that was a good thing.
And what? Days of the Dead, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah. A live episode, which will be on the H&R feed. Yeah?
Yep, we sure did. It was
Part
super busy and awesome.
of Gruesome on the Road.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, as we travel around, aimlessly.
But you know what? We have fun where we go.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And Tom Savini, that is, had the look of horror on his face, not knowing what the hell was going on with us. But that's all right.
I was like, I'm going to go cry now.
All right, rounding out the crew is H&R co-host Dave Dreher. Dave, how you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm good. Good.
All right. Well, we watched a pair of movies, Dave. Did you enjoy them?
I think I actually did. I wasn't too sure about the devil movie, but there's really not a lot of devil in the devil movie. So
not a lot of devil in the devil. Well, because what you dislike the most are possession films, right?
Yeah, religious horror films. Yeah,
religious horror films and anything with subtitles. And just didn't have subtitles, so we were okay there. And they're really, again, for a movie with devil in the title, not a lot of devil. Not a lot of devil. All right. Well, next we'll find you a found footage. I'm sure there's one out there somewhere.
There's got to be one.
You love those too, right? All right. As we are hinting at, we review 2 movies each and every week. We have 2 lined up tonight, which I think you are going to enjoy listening to. The first one is called Along Came the Devil 2. From director Jason DeVan, and it is a sequel to, yes, you guessed it, Along Came the Devil, and we'll get into that. I'm sure one Jeff Mohr is just standing by to catch us up about where that film left, which it took me the entire film to remember. That is Along Came the Devil 2, but we'll get to that. Also, we have Mary, which is from Michael Goi, Goi. I suggest it's Go. But how do you pronounce the I in that? Goi. Anybody?
I would almost want to say Goi, but
Goi?
Yeah.
Maybe,
I like that. Let's call it Michael Goi. Yeah, that we have christened you. Which is I think Dave put it best. It's basically Christine and the ocean.
Yeah, Christine on a boat.
Christine on a boat. It's a haunted boat. And Gary Oldman and Emily Mortimer are haunted at sea. So we'll talk about that as well.
I'm still trying to figure out. I'm so surprised by Dave connecting it to a Stephen King movie.
Yeah, I don't know. That never happens, right?
No.
Both films are coming out October 11th in one way or another. So we'll dive into these and find out what we think. Up first is Along Came the Devil 2. The cast includes Bruce Davison, Laura Wiggins, and Mark Ashworth. And it is coming out from Gravitas Ventures. Jeff, catch us up. This is a sequel to a film that we covered here on Gruesome. And then give us your first impression. Along Came the Devil 2.
So in this movie, there's a young lady named Jordan who's away at college, and she receives a phone call from Reverend Michael, who's played by Bruce Davison. Jordan, by the way, is played by Laura Wiggins. And Reverend Michael tells her she must come home immediately because her Aunt Tanya and her sister Ashley, along with a doctor, something has happened and she needs to come. And basically what has happened is everything from Along Came the Devil 1, right? And then Along Came the Devil 1, they have Ashley and Jordan have gone to live with their Aunt Tanya. Their father is a disgusting disgusting drunken perv, I guess. And the mother has, I guess, gone crazy. They're sort of fuzzy about it till the end. And Jordan's away at college. So now we're after the first one and we're calling Jordan to come back. Well, Jordan gets back to town, and then the kindly but devious Reverend Michael tells her, oh, well, they just left. They had to get away. Father Karras went with them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So she's really pretty confused about what's going on. And actually there's kind of a family curse, I guess. So for this movie, and Father Michael spent his entire life almost like fighting the demons that haunt this family. And I'm not sure what he wants to accomplish here, but it doesn't work out well. It starts off, I think, really well with a couple of kind of gruesome visuals involving Xander. We don't really know who that is. That's actually their father, Jordan's father, has remarried and has a son, Xander, by that marriage that is, I don't know, what would you guys say, 12?
Sure. That sounds about right.
And there's some crazy scenes at the beginning that are part of a dream sequence that Mark, the father, is having. But then that's like the most interesting thing that happens for like another hour from at least.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I felt like it was a ton of exposition trying to catch people up on the first movie that didn't see it, is what it felt like. There's even a character she goes to see, some friend, Nat, doesn't really serve any purpose except to tell her something. Same with the people in that grocery store, the friends that run up to her and tell her about her sister Ashley, which is, this seizure she had in class, which was, Doc, I don't know if you remember, but the famous scene that doesn't exist in the first movie. They just, I don't know, they jumped to the end and everybody was talking about it like we should know. Anyway, yeah, just a lot of exposition and not really scary stuff. However, I'd say in the last half an hour or so, it kind of ramps up. And I thought there was some pretty good stuff in there when, everything goes to hell. Jordan's staying in the house with her father because nobody's at Aunt Tanya's house. So that seemed to make sense. And there's just some really weird stuff that happened. There's a couple of scenes that imply that this Xander is communicating or possessed or something, but it just basically goes undeveloped. It's like they started down this path, but it doesn't go anywhere. And then Reverend Michael then also tries to protect the house without telling anybody that's what he's doing by taking down stuff in the house and putting up crosses and pouring salt across the porch, which, once he leaves, the mother immediately sweeps up. What's this stuff doing here? It just was odd stuff, to kind of throw in there. In the meantime, Jordan's trying to find out what happened to Ashley and Aunt Tanya because nothing really makes any sense. Her friend tells her about stuff from the first film and these other people do. And then she goes and talks to a police person who basically just regurgitates what Reverend Michael did. There were some, I thought, genuine scares or goosebump type scenes towards the end. And I think, again, most of the exposition was intended for people who hadn't seen Along Came the Devil 1. There's a part in that exposition where the story is trying really hard to portray Mark's new family, wife Karen and son Xander, as kind of a picture book family, but that goes awry almost immediately. So I guess I like the first 5 minutes and maybe the middling to last 20 minutes or so. and also that I thought Bruce Davison was outstanding.
He always is.
He was really good and does a pretty good range. And the father didn't do too bad either, although he played a possessed killer better than I think he played the sorry father, apologetic father.
Yeah, he basically plays 3 different versions of himself here. He plays the drunk, mean bastard from the flashback, and then he kind of falls into that when he starts drinking again.
Mm-hmm,
then he plays the possessed version of himself, and then he plays the nice version of himself, the saved version, air quotes, right?
So I'll stop there. It's a mixed bag. I'll say that.
A mixed bag indeed. A mixed bag.
I kind of feel like if they could come up with a really good possession horror movie if they cut together parts of both those movies. There was some good stuff in the first movie. There's some pretty freaky stuff there. That movie has the devil. The devil is in that movie. So anyway,
he's hinted at here, but it's
yes,
yeah, but not as well. Nah, Dave Dreher, who does not like devil movies or anything like that.
This is a new development for me. I kind of just thought Dave was badass and not afraid of anything. And now that I know that he has a fear of devil movies, my world is complete.
Now you know. Now you know what's going to be in your stocking.
I'm like, he's a human.
Dave Dreher, what is your first impression of Along Came the Devil 2?
I mean, it was okay. I wasn't really looking particularly forward to watching this one, but it was better than I thought, which was a big plus. But with that being said, I agree with Jeff on a lot of what he had said. A lot of exposition. I didn't see the first one, so I was probably the target audience for all that exposition. But it still, none of it made any sense. So, I didn't pick up on any of it, what it was. To me, it was just that boring hour between the pretty okay start and the pretty okay ending of the movie. But, I think I pretty much agree with everything in there. It seems like some of Bruce Davison's stuff, and I like him as well. I think he's a good actor. A lot of it seemed like it might have been like add-in shots. Some of the stuff just didn't seem to fit. It's like they were just like, you know what? It's been a while. We better put some Bruce Davison in here. and they just kind of stick it in there somewhere. And the whole stuff with him with the red, I'm pretty sure both scenes with him in the red cape, they were the exact same scenes. It's like they were they showed it twice. And it seemed like it was the exact same. I would love to see those two scenes side by side. If they weren't the exact same scenes, they were shot identically. So that, I don't know. It just seemed kind of out of place. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it was some kind of flashback.
I'm not sure what it was.
When he was saying the Lord's Prayer, a lot of times just seemed out of place.
Yeah, it was just odd. I don't know if it was out of place or just oddly placed. I'm not really sure where it was. But again, it was distracting. But by far, the last 15 minutes of the movie are the bread and butter of this one. If you can manage to get to that last 15 minutes, you're okay. For some reason, the screener that I had, at least, shown that it was only 84 minutes long. I'm like, "Ooh, cool! It's only 84 minutes long." And then you actually go to play it, and it's like, "Oh, fuck! It's an hour and a half. Damn it!" But it wasn't bad. Jeff described it perfectly. It's a very uneven film.
An uneven film. All right, Crystal Cleveland, what is your first impression of Long Came the Devil 2?
So I posted something on Facebook about, 5 minutes in and I'm already like laughing, and then I'm in complete agreement with both of them. Then it just goes, wah, wah. And I was like, oh, that was a little unfortunate that I posted that. Because I, like, my hopes for the
premature.
movie. Oh. Yeah, my hopes were like up, and then I was like, I didn't see the first one either. So much like Dave, I guess all of that was meant for me. And interestingly enough, like, I thought, okay, they're going to go with Xander being possessed and travel along the story. I was like, okay, I mean, he's no Linda Blair, but, maybe we could work with this possessed child. And then what the heck happened to that? Mm-hmm. Where did that go? Like, it didn't go anywhere. When we got to certain parts of the movie, I was like, wait, girl, maybe you shouldn't be with him. Maybe I didn't know if it was going to come back up at a point, or that was strange. But I enjoyed, I guess, the last half of the movie. I mean, you know, if you bring necrophilia into a movie,
there's that, isn't there?
There is that.
I was like, well, all right then, you got me. I mean, that's entertainment to me. I know, something's wrong with me, but I'm in complete agreement. There was this whole part that was. They had some decent shots. I mean, it was shot well. The acting was fine. You know, I didn't really have any issues with anyone. But yeah, up until it really, honestly, a lot of that was very unnecessary. I still didn't even completely understand what happened during the first movie with all of that. I was like, I kind of got the idea, but I was still lost. I mean, and I could have been lost if they had some, weird stuff throughout. I think I would have been much happier with it. But I liked it. It was entertaining. I'd say just, watch the first part and then fast forward until you see two people in bed. That's when you can stop and play from there.
And play from there like they do.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is a laundry folding movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Watch the first 5-10 minutes, get all caught up in it, fold your laundry, and when you're done, it'll be ready to watch the last 30-35 minutes. Okay, so yeah, the first 10 minutes, like you said, it got me excited. Like, hey, this is actually pretty decent. Got the headless corpse running around, we got the head sitting on the mantelpiece, and everybody's having nightmares, and it's the right mix of scares and those loud jump scares. And then we get the movie. And then we get the finale, which gets back into it. And in the meantime, they make a mess of the previous movie and this one. Jeff, did you catch the one-off reference to what's underneath the church? And
yes,
right. It's like, won't you just look underneath the church? Like oh yeah, I remember what's underneath the church.
But I didn't know if they were.
Why isn't that part of this movie? Right.
So I thought wasn't that. Well, anyway. Yeah, I didn't know if that was referring to them or the more fresh bodies underneath the church, behind the church.
Well, yeah, it is. Well, okay, so good point, because it's that confusing, right? Because it's so non-specific, but yet yakety yak, and you're just like totally out there, and it's a little bit confusing about who's what, and as far as being possessed and who's haunted and who's not, and.
If you hadn't seen the first one, you'd have no idea what under the church meant.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't until she said that I remembered. Oh yeah, that's what Jeff was trying to tell me I didn't like. Yeah, I was like, why are we following the dad now? That he's a boring character, and this is getting yakety yak, and the music is really like, okay, this is Lifetime America music. What? Why is this in here? Why is it so loud? And then there's some strange camera work where I'm trying to figure out the influence, and I think it's James Wan, but it's played out more like a Quentin Tarantino-y kind of thing, because there's this thing where they're going to have dinner.
Oh yeah, the one shot.
It just follows around everybody, and it's cute. But it's useless. It's like, that's not the right scene to do that with, right? And maybe I'm being too harsh. You guys back me up or tell me I'm.
Well, I think it's the wrong kind of movie to have that shot for. It just, I guess it felt like they were trying to like show this whole like, oh, it's like it's Thanksgiving dinner and it's all perfect and wonderful. But it really didn't translate, because all that horror movie watchers are sitting there looking at is, who's going to get got? Where's my blood? Oh, is this like, what is it? Thanksgilling? Oh, yeah. Gobble, gobble.
Yeah. Well, James Wan likes to, do that. He always starts the film off, giving you but his usually has a purpose, because it gives you the lay of the land, right? He usually goes through the entire house, so you understand where everything is. And here we're just in the kitchen and dining room, so it's a little odd. So I'm, like you said, very uneven. Beginning of it is we'll trick you into thinking this is going to be good, And the end of it kind of says, well, this is what it could have been for the past hour. And in between, there are a couple of interesting teases and haunts, but very few and far between. And at the end, they end up being a little confusing because of who's getting what here. It doesn't make sense, but yeah. So let's dive into some of this. Let's dive into special effects, Dave. I love the special effects at the beginning with the headless corpse running around.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good, and also the ending. I enjoyed the ending quite a bit.
Yep.
Did you like the axe? We get a lot of shining axe treatment here, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We get a lot of that. And yeah, there was a lot going on with that, and then our final killing, slaughter, whatever you want to say, was highly effective. I felt.
Hey, wait. Was there a dome light on in the?
There was a dome light.
I didn't notice. I wasn't in dome light mode.
I noticed the dome light.
I didn't have my dome filter on for this one.
This is like if we were like Joe Bob's Brain, we would have a dome light count.
Was there really? Was there seriously a dome light on?
Yes.
Oh man, fuck this movie.
When she was all bloody and driving the kid away.
And all I thought about was you, Dave. I was like, oh, Dave's going to be so happy.
We're going to have to start giving the films a dome light rating.
Yes.
Man. It had a dome light. There is one scene I liked where she's looking in the room and she sees the headless corpse again. And it just says, okay, you can come stay with me. And he's like, you don't say anything about the corpse in the bed. What? Come on. When did the graphics work for you, Crystal? When did you go, okay, now you got my attention again?
Literally, when she got into bed, the stepmom got into bed with the dad and he was turned away from her. I thought his makeup looked good. I thought he looked creepy. And that's when I got interested again. Literally, there was nothing up to that point that I felt compelled. I mean, the kid being possessed was, okay, 12-6 still, I mean, really, it was just up until that point. The fun parts of this movie were definitely the creepier parts. I think they did those well. I think the story was, and I feel like it tried too hard to tell a story. I think had there been less of a story, it would have been better off, honestly.
Okay. Did we get a story, though?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's confusing.
Is it because there's too much to the story to actually accomplish the story?
Yeah, they sure tried to tell us a lot, don't you think? I mean,
there was tons, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think it wasn't successful because it was too much. I think with less, it would have been better. If this had just been some girl that was, coming to visit her dad or whatever after, I don't know, something. I just think it would have been just better. And it could have cut out a lot of the fluff and they could have had a little bit more scares. I mean, clearly they could have, I think seeing the boy at points in that same makeup, in that same type of makeup, before it goes to the dad, I think there's a lot of ways they could have gone with this. And I know my way would be better.
Oh, that's funny. Jeff, as the one person who remembers the first one more clearly than the others, is this a step up from that film?
Well, see, the big difference is I like the ending of the first one and you didn't. So I don't really like the ending of this one. I think I would have liked it. I'm serious. I think there's a pretty good movie here between the two of them. They could easily have this, kind of cut the stuff in half.
Well, I think there's a part of the movie that's missing. I think the ending of this should have been about halfway through the film and then pick up from there. It should have got there quicker.
The thing I liked best about the first film, that ending, is totally left out of this one.
And except for one or two mentions, and then
they mention it, and then we see.
Front.
Don't want to give the whole thing away, but
no, but I will say I thought it was. I was more impressed with the direction this time around. I think this guy's got something in him. You could see him learning and exploring.
Yeah, I thought it looked good. I think it's well made. I think it's the story there that's the biggest issue.
I'm not disagreeing with you. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. And since you just did some yappity yap there, Jeff, I'm going to let Dave start us off now. Dave.
Along Came the Devil 2. It doesn't really hurt anything, but it's not really groundbreaking. There's some decent gore if you can manage to get through all the yakety yak, as you say, Doc. It's it's just all right. There's not a lot of meat there. I was thinking maybe perhaps my lackluster approach was because I hadn't seen the first one, but it appears that that really wouldn't have served much purpose listening to you guys talk about it. Yeah, it sounds like it's just a continuation of a story that didn't need continuing. So I'm going to give it just middle of the road, 2.5 for me. And my favorite scene, I'm going to go with the final axe blow to the head. I like that.
Of course.
Yeah. I enjoyed that one. You know, you can never beat an axe blow to the head. I mean, it's no necrophilia, but it is an axe blow to the head.
Oh, there was a lot of blood, though. It
was an extended scene. I mean, they hung on that for a bit.
And let me tell you, the blood that they used, it had a nice viscosity. Didn't you agree? Just the way it kind of like flowed over his head.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you, Dave. Jeff Mohr, go ahead. What is your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene?
You know, it's what I said before. I think I really enjoyed the beginning, and I enjoyed the end, and in the middle, I just was wondering, why is this taking so long? And we're explaining all these things from the first movie. So I'm going 2.5 as well. And my favorite scene, you know what? I'm going to pick an odd one. I'm going to pick the woman officer towards the end. And I just think it was performance above and beyond the Call of Duty to get an axe to the shoulder and get your eyes gouged out and still manage to make a call in for backup.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Agreed.
Oh, man. That's hilarious. I love it. Yes. All right, Crystal Cleveland, what is your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene for Along Came the Devil 2?
So, I mean, I think it's still worth a watch. I think it's kind of interesting. I think some of the scenes are a little crazy and a little tough to watch. And I think this guy, whoever wrote this, I think they've got a good horror movie inside of them. I think they're just afraid, because anyone that goes into necrophilia, they have more inside of them than what they're showing right here, for sure. So that's what I'd like to see. I'm giving it I know, I'm so messed up. It's sad when I'm in the horror community and I feel like, oh, yay. And then I realize I'm still the most messed up one of them all. Giddy. Yay. But,
no.
But I'm giving it a little bit higher. I'm going to give it a 2.75, actually. And,
you go.
Of course I love the necrophilia, as I said, but I'll try to do something else. Oh, when the dad gets the hands around his neck, which begins, right before he goes to bed. Yeah, that was kind of fun.
Yeah. I am thankful that Bruce Davison was in this, because he kept the movie lively through these parts that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. He was on the screen a healthy amount of time and felt crucial to the story. I'm not necessarily certain he was, but he felt like it. And I liked him quite a bit. I thought Laura Wiggins was really good as Jordan, but I don't think they gave her anything really to do. I mean, for a long part, she's kind of Nancy Drew running around trying to figure things out, and it's not really that big of a mystery. But at the end, she does kind of, run around with a bloody mess all over, because she does get the knife in the shoulder there that is that she bleeds like crazy for this one little cut. I was like, man, how are you walking around? That's a lot of blood you just squirted out all over your shirt. I was like, oh man, but she was thoughtful. She hid the boy Xander pretty well. I thought that was a good hide.
Yeah, agreed.
And speaking of Xander, I liked him too. Cassius DeVan, who is apparently the son of the director, right?
Yes, yes.
I would suspect that it was. And I thought he was really good, especially in the beginning. And the many times that he was acting kind of off, it really, really worked. And it kind of had me wanting that to be explored more. And it really wasn't, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the cast is strong for this film. And I guess it helps us, like you said, if the cast was weaker, the slower parts would have been excruciatingly slow. And they aren't excruciatingly slow. Like I said, if it was on, it'd be a perfect movie to kind of get into at the beginning, find a little something to do, and then really, sit back down and watch the end. I don't know if that's high praise, but I agree with Crystal. I think that the director here has a good one in him. These are very promising in that respect. So I'm going to give it a 2.75 as well.
Awesome.
I am. So I think I like this better than the first one.
I'm going to throw in too that in thinking about it while you guys were talking, that this one has a lot more visceral effects. I don't think there's a lot of blood in the first one.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood here.
Yeah.
I still don't know if I know exactly 100% what happened under those sheets.
Well, he stabbed her. I thought he stabbed her. Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah. He did. Because you could kind of tell between the way I knew she was dead, of course, before it started,
panning back up. That was a strange choice. It's like,
was it? I thought it was.
I agree,
cool.
but I liked it.
I liked it. Yeah.
Okay.
I did. I because it was such a weird scene that it made me uncomfortable, which I like that. And then I don't know, it just started the whole ball. It was in such a simple way to let your imagination go there, but not have to spend much money. Because how much money did that blood cost in her mouth? She spit out not much. That
was one or two of those little tablets. That's it, right?
Well, in line with what Dave said too about the scenes with the red robe, nobody mentioned it, but the super long scream followed by the squish plop baby crying, I thought was kind of weird.
Squish plop baby cry.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally.
I was trying to figure out, did she turn into a baby or did she have a baby? I'm not sure what happened here. They don't really show you.
It could have been either because all we see is change.
Show.
Yeah. All right. Favorite scene is not squish plop crying baby. It's a cheat scene. It was a really good, but they did it well. The boy's alone in his bed, and he hears something. He thinks it's under the bed, so he looks.
Oh, yeah.
And nothing there, of course. He hears it again. He looks again. And, we've seen this 100 times, but they do it really well. Because, one thing is it's upside down, so I appreciate that. And then our ghosty that we've seen, just comes darting at him. And I actually yelped out loud. So I said, okay, I knew it was coming, and you still got me. Yay. So I'm going to go with that because that happened.
Fair enough.
That's fair, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There were some tense spots in there, so,
yeah.
I'm sticking with a 2.5, but it's I think that beginning and those ends are definitely worth a watch.
There you go. Long Came the Devil 2 from director Jason DeVan, who may never speak to me again. But it's from Gravitas Ventures, coming out on demand digital October 11th, 2019. So check it out. Up next is Mary. Mary is from Michael Goi, right? That's what we said. It was Goi. Cast includes Gary Oldman, Jennifer Esposito, Emily Mortimer, and many more. This is coming October 11th in theaters and digital HD as well. Gary Oldman is a father he basically is a tour guide, and he wants to be the captain of his own ship, and he finds this charter boat that has a history, but he falls in love with it. It captures his attention, and he buys it. And the family sets sail with the young girl's boyfriend, the young daughter's boyfriend, and one of Gary Oldman's best mates, who is going to be his first mate, I guess, and a lot of history. And, of course, a haunted boat. I guess it's a ship. I shouldn't say boat. Somebody will throw crabs at me. Yep. We got to find out what we thought of this. Crystal, what was your first impression of Mary?
So, okay, guys, you're probably all gonna pan me for this. I love love Gary Oldman. Let me just say that first. Okay. And I thought he was fantastic. But the movie was slow. And it's not scary at all. Sorry. Everything that I kind of saw here, like, honestly, the ghosty with the mosty reminded me of Samara from The Ring. And really, I found it a little interesting, but it lacked enough substance. Now, the character development between the husband and the wife, I felt was good. They both interacted well. I mean, they had a lot of, like you said, the history between what happened with them and the subsequent, affair that I guess we'll just bring that. It's not really like much of a spoiler there. And then the family was good. I feel like, they seem like a legit family, but it could be so cool. I love the concept of a ghost ship. And I believe even at the panel, we talked about that, Doc, about how like ships have shown up where they don't have a crew or anyone on them. And I find that so fascinating. But this kind of, I guess it was a witch movie because that was one of the first quotes, but I also was kind of confused with the whole siren thing. And it was okay. But even like the scary parts just weren't scary. And I mean, I'm surprised they didn't call this movie Fade to Black because they faded to black.
Oh, they
so
did
much.
so much.
Yeah. I was so I didn't dislike it. I think it was okay. It just was okay. Yeah.
Just okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I had more to say about it, but really, like I said, I mean, the actors were great. I mean, you're on this ship, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's a simple concept, but it just I did not feel scared for these people at all. That's all. That's unfortunate.
Even though they were obviously in danger.
Obviously.
Yeah. Okay, real quick before I pass this on, we should note that it's written by the same fellow who wrote The Shallows, a shark movie from a few years back that, well, I really liked it. Anthony Jaswinski, for whatever that is worth.
He did The Vanishing on 7th Street, too.
Which was good, too, yeah. But, watery theme, maybe.
I love water, too. That's why I want to like it more than I do, but I don't.
Right. Well, let's find out what the rest of the crew think. Dave, Dreher, what was your first impression of Mary?
I definitely liked Mary a lot more than I liked Here Comes the Devil. I like Emily Mortimer a lot. I've liked her ever since The Newsroom. So I was kind of excited to see she was in this. I didn't realize she was. I knew it was a Gary Oldman movie, but I didn't know she was in it. And she's in it a lot, really. She's kind of the main character in the movie, actually. The similarity to Christine for me was like immediate because, he's actually looking for a boat and there's a nicer charter boat for sale, but he's drawn to this rickety old thing with the torn sails and the hull that needs replaced. And, the family and the friends are like, what are you doing? I was just waiting for him to call someone a shitter. And I've been like, okay, there we go. We're in. But it worked for me much better than it did for Crystal. I actually liked this quite a bit. I didn't find it slow at all. I was real surprised. I loved how they revealed the fact that there'd been an affair. There really isn't much of a hint of that. You definitely tell they're a family in distress, but you don't really know why. And the whole thing, with the affair, about halfway through, I guess, they kind of throw that in there, and it really paints a whole different picture because we kind of see this in flashback because we're actually introduced first with Emily Mortimer. So we know she survives because they have her in custody. This is one of those ones where we start at the end of the movie and we end at the end of the movie. We kind of go full circle through the course of the thing. We start with the boat burning and we end with the boat burning. I just thought it worked, but I really like both the actors. I thought they both brought their A game. I thought the young woman who played the daughter, actually both daughters, but the older daughter was very, very good, especially when her boyfriend gets a wee bit possessed and kind of freaks out. I think there's a lot to like about this. I'm going to have to watch it a couple more times. I like the whole Bermuda Triangle angle in there. They could have played that in a little bit more, actually. Because I have kind of a sneaking feeling that our little ghosty spooky only likes to come out and play. when they're in that certain region of the ocean, because we don't really see much of it until they plot their course and they make note of going through the Devil's Triangle, ballsy call there, Bubba, and it all kind of goes to hell after that. So they could have pursued that a little bit. Is it the boat that's haunted, or is it the Devil's Triangle that's the culprit? They never really tell us. But yeah, I like this one quite a bit.
Yeah, the older daughter is played by Stephanie Scott, who most fans will remember from maybe Insidious: The Last Key. And, Insidious Chapter 3. She was Quinn Brenner.
And the little girl that plays Mary, that plays the boat's namesake, if you will, kind of by accident, but she's really good too.
Yeah, I think I have to say I agree. I think all the acting is good. All of them, the boy, all of them, they're all good. And
she was in Itsy Bitsy, which we did recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, and Jurassic World, of course, that was a smaller role, but for a small girl. Anyway, let's find out. I don't know why I did that. Shoot me now. Jeff Mohr, what was your first impression of Mary?
It's listening to you guys. I enjoyed it when I watched it, but I kind of felt like there was something missing. The director was also DP for a lot of horror television, American Horror Story, Salem, Scream Queen, and The Town That Dreaded Sundown. But he also directed a film called Megan is Missing. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but that's a disturbing movie.
Is that the one with she gets kidnapped with her friend?
Yes, and there's a bunch of video footage. Yeah, that's a
fucked up movie.
Yes.
Oh no.
Oh.
But this one doesn't. He must have got that out of his system or something. But I liked the setup. I liked the actors, of course, Gary Oldman. I did not see The Newsroom, but I thought Emily Mortimer did well. I have seen Jennifer Esposito in a lot of stuff, who plays the detective here that's interviewing Sarah. And the kids, I liked. This is really a 6-person cast.
Yeah, you got the 4.
7, I guess.
Well, maybe, yeah, if you count the cop.
Yeah, the 4-member family and the two ship hands, right?
Yep.
And then we have what's billed as the Pale Lady. I think the strength of this is the setting, because for me, it's got that. The ship itself can be claustrophobic, but at the same time, we're on the ocean, so you have this. You're surrounded by this vast openness, but also utter isolation, and that's engineered at some point that they can't communicate. So it's kind of ripe for paranoia. There's no place to run, right? So in that way, it's kind of like a spaceship haunting kind of thing. Any situation where you can't get away. That's where you're at. So in that way, I think I did have some tension and some menace or foreboding, I guess, from this. And I like the backstory, how they kind of developed that, the previous owners. However, I like the backstory, but it was kind of weird the way they developed it. It was sort of like the husband and the wife were doing it at the same time in different places. He was figuring out that all these other owners were plotting the course at the exact same point. And at the same time, she's looking up the old owner's documents and news clippings and things that he had in a folder that showed how all these kids disappeared. The boat, people kept finding the boat with nobody on it, and the origin of the figurehead. So all of that stuff I enjoyed, and I did feel, I guess, a lot of tension, but I felt like they should have been a little bit better payoff. So visually, I thought it was beautiful. It was hard not to be, I guess. They took advantage of the location. They had some shots that showed you how isolated they were. And, no matter what you do in the ocean, you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And actually, this is exactly why I would never take a trip on a sailing vessel like that. I say too many horror movies and what happens on them, I guess.
Yeah. No, the fear of getting lost in the middle of the ocean. No, thank you. No. Mm-mm.
Fear of drowning is. I feel like a Brody, Chief Brody.
There's nobody. Yeah, there's nobody.
I'd rather be on an island. Lisa's land.
There's nobody to call. There's nowhere to go. You can't hide. You can't run.
Yeah, I don't like that. Mm-mm.
So.
But you can sail, bitch. You can sail.
Unless somebody cuts up your sails, right?
Well, yeah, but they didn't do that till like the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I felt this movie was way adrift. I
that explains your text.
there you go. I thought it was just. I don't know if it knew where it was going. It was just to me, it was a little too aimless. You were talking about the backstory. I thought you were originally talking about the backstory between the husband and the wife, which was far more interesting than the backstory about the ghost, because you didn't need that. You just need to, we didn't need to know 3 times. We didn't need, we had enough information, and that was just like.
I like that.
It would have been a little more interesting to know that. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to rewrite the film for anybody, but to me, it was just like.
Okay, here's the thing. It wasn't surprising, right? It wasn't like a reveal.
I felt like we already knew it, right?
Right. And that's what it was for you. It's like, she does this research and wah. It's exactly what we figured.
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes in, it would have, oh crap. And then, a little bit more tension on the ship. But, by the time that happens, we're like, oh yeah, okay. You already told us this with all the, this slow buildup. Already kind of revealed this. Maybe not in specifics. We didn't know, that there was 3. And was that important?
No.
1 was enough, right? It didn't have to be 3. And I don't know if 3 added anything to it. At least it didn't for me. You were saying about the payoff. Yeah, it didn't have any payoff at all. And I felt like it was a little too. Some of the logic didn't make sense to me. They kept saying they were too far to turn back, but they just left an island and left that kid the night before. So too far from where? Maybe Florida, but you were at this wherever that it's one of the Bahama Islands or something, or maybe Bermuda Island. But it was a little frustrating. There was a couple times I thought it was getting interesting. There's one point where the older daughter, the young daughter, is kind of messing with her hair and she doesn't like it. And then we close into the daughter as she's starting, she's like reading her text or something. She's trying to get a hold of her boyfriend. I forget. And then the daughter touches her hair again and she goes to smack her away and she's not there. And then she's running behind her. It's like, like obviously far enough that she couldn't have possibly been there. So I liked that. I like the idea that something's there that they can't figure out what it is, but they don't do enough of it.
Yeah, most of it's dreams too. It's like, well, that's not scary. It's a damn dream. Are you? Yeah,
dreams. You get. I mean, it's the other film that we reviewed tonight did the dreams a little better because it's hard to repeat that, right? You can get away with one good one, and by God, please don't do it 2 or 3 times in a row. That annoys the crap out of me. But that was a thing. Remember that? So I found this film a bit frustrating. Although, again, love the cast. I thought all the cast was good. And I liked the scenario. I liked the scenery. I like everything except for maybe the story itself or the execution of the story. I just don't think the pacing was strong enough or the tension ramped up tight enough. Even the conflicts that they were exploring weren't explored deep enough. There was some tension between Gary Oldman's character and Emily Mortimer's character, the husband and wife, with their history, but it's touched upon, but never to the point where it meant anything other than just to unsettle things a little bit, and not even enough. I don't know. It was just like, if you took that out of it, it still wouldn't change the story, right?
Right. Well, yeah, for a minute there, I thought for sure that they were going to play into the husband's paranoia about her having an affair with the first hand.
Right.
And
they certainly
made more sense. That would have made a little.
And that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
that didn't go anywhere with that at all. But yeah, so I guess Mary bored me more than excited me, but looked good along the way. Yeah.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the ghost, right? The witch or whatever, the spirit. Dave, you liked it the most out of the batch of us, I think. What did you think of how they represented her and how she haunted this ship? Was it haunted enough?
Yeah, well, like I think they fell a little short on explaining, exactly what was haunted. I'm not really sure what was haunted. Was it that what do you call that piece on the big metal thing, the big rock thing on the front? Yeah, I don't know sure what that thing's called, but
Figurehead on the front of the boat.
Yeah, but they at the end of the movie they make a big point out of what almost looked like it was supposed to be a 3D shot to me of that thing like falling down to the bottom of the ocean after the boat burns. You kind of see it going, and I thought, oh, okay, that's us telling it. Now the spirit is at the bottom of the ocean and never to bother anyone again. But then we get that ending where the cop sees Emily Mortimer's character kind of transforming into the spirit again. So that was kind of a confusing ending. So apparently the spirit possesses people. It's not possessing the boat, right?
Agreed.
Is that what we got from that?
Yeah, and I felt that was confusing though too.
Which, well, it seemed like more of like a shock ending, and it didn't really stick with the rest of the story. I would have rather thought it, that Emily, although she lost her family and was likely going to rot in jail for the rest of her life, she did defeat the evil. And it's at the bottom of the ocean. But they seem to want to go for the Mary 2 ending, to allow us to maybe continue this story.
She said something at the beginning didn't she say something like it wants something to occupy, that's why it's going after my husband? Or did it say? It
was something like that. I seem to remember her saying something about I had to kill her. Or something like that.
I thought it wanted the kids, right? It wanted the children.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, kind of a confusing ending, and they kind of seemed to make less sense.
Yeah, I thought they had foreshadowed it pretty heavy-handedly, though, when she went up and stared at the camera there early on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree. There was a ton of foreshadowing in this movie with the whole noose and. There were a lot.
The news.
Yeah, that's one thing I do like in movies, and I mean they did do that well. I think the movie is a quality movie. I agree. The story was a little.
It seems like maybe there were some rewrites as they were going along, and they kind of lost track of what they were.
That sounds about right. Actually,
they were trying to tell. But so yeah, I think it was Crystal had said that the spooky resembles the thing from The Ring, the chick from The Ring, and it does. I mean, it's just your kind of garden variety spooky. There was nothing earth-shattering there about her.
It needed to be more original.
Yeah. I like. There's a shot where she's maybe out in the ocean, with a shadow. That's really kind of spooky, but they don't really use that strong enough. It's frustrating. Gary Oldman. Crystal, you said you are a huge Gary Oldman fan. Where does this sit in?
Dracula.
Yeah.
No, his acting is great. I think he played it very authentic. It was very all the actors were good. That wasn't really much of an issue for me. Actually, the acting was a non-issue. It's probably the only thing that made this movie watchable for me, though, honestly. Because short of that, like even the quote-unquote scary scenes weren't very scary. Like I said, they had a lot of fades to black, and I felt like it was kind of cool at points and sort of artistic, and I see that they tried to play into our imagination bringing the scares, but it didn't translate for me. I'm like, no. I almost feel like, though, had they not shown her as a person or an entity or as a witch, is what I was assuming that they're going with here, that I think that might be a little bit better. Maybe. Because I feel like every time when they did this whole thing where it was definitely all about the possession at first, like possession. She was kind of moving around and stuff. But then when they actually showed her, I was like, oh, well, that's unfortunate.
To me, they had the perfect thing. They had that figurehead. If that figurehead would have been standing around somewhere and then disappear, and
like moving, can you imagine?
Yeah,
if
oh my god,
moved? That'd be cool.
something like that. You know, they had the perfect thing sitting right there, and they went with Samara or something like that. So one thing I thought this film had a problem with is that it had too many identities. You know, it was a procedural, sort of. It was a love story, lifetime story kind of thing going on between the husband and wife. It wanted to be a sailing story. It wanted to be a ghost story. Jeff, did those weave together well enough for you, or did you have a problem like I did with it?
I guess I did not have a problem like you did. I thought what they were doing was whatever was going on, the spirit of the witch, the curse, whatever it was playing on each of them to create these conflicts. There was already a conflict between the husband and the wife, and there was a bit of a conflict with the husband and the oldest daughter. I'm not sure why he hired Tommy, if he was going to be worried about him being around his daughter.
Well, they did explain that he basically took him in. He was an orphan, he wasn't an orphan. He was in a halfway house, basically, and he took him in and showed him the ropes at work. So he liked him, but he just, he wasn't. He didn't care for his affection for his daughter.
Well, he didn't. Yeah. Anyway,
because that might have been one of the few genuine moments is when they realized what happened to him.
Right. No, I really didn't have a big problem with it, but the story itself, something about the way it was told, whatever it was, didn't really grab my gut, I guess, maybe is what I'm going for. I don't know.
Grab your gut?
Well, didn't yeah, I'll stick with that.
Are you trying to say there's something about Mary? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I didn't see that, but anyway. I don't know what I'm saying. I felt like there was a lot of stuff that could have been played out, like the little girl's drawings.
Yes.
That could have got a lot more. That could have been a lot more disturbing. And then she's kind of like, I don't know. Did the mother ever show them to her husband?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think she looked at it, was kind of weird, but let's be honest, it wasn't weird enough to get too worried about it.
Right.
It's like, I tell you, I drew way worse stuff as a kid.
Yeah, the only reason it was weird is because we're watching a movie called Mary about a haunted ship.
Yep, exactly.
That made it weird, not the drawing itself.
So I think we were going in the right direction most of the time. It just wasn't feeling it. Maybe that was what I was trying to say by grabbing me in the gut.
Right. Well, we need a gut grabber. That's what we need. A gut grabber. Gut grabber. But let's wrap this one up and sail it off to see. Crystal, start us off. What is your final thoughts? Your score, favorite scene, Mary?
So I like it. I mean, it's a coolish movie, and if you have nothing else to watch, I'd say just do it. I mean, Gary Oldman is in it, and he's fantastic. But he's not incredibly. His character is really not incredibly charming or anything. Maybe what you're used to, but all the acting is okay. There's not any real scares. Really, honestly, don't pay to see it. Sorry, don't do it. Just wait till you can see it for free, and then if you literally have not too much else to do, then you can watch it. Because I'm only going to give this a 2. Yep.
Ooh,
yeah.
Even with the Gary Oldman stamp.
I know. God. And that's, you don't even know. That kind of hurts my heart. The truth is, none of the scenes were that great to me even. But I guess if I have to pick one, I'll say Tommy's breakdown, I suppose. His breakdown. His Tommy, the boy,
gotcha.
His breakdown. Yeah, I'm like, if I have to be
no, that was good. That was good.
I'm like, I just don't want to give too much away. I mean, if these people decide to go see it, even though I've advised them not to pay any money.
He was the first one to get some sort of effect
vibe
from what was going on too when he was taking that picture.
So I think he was more susceptible to it.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, Dave, what about you? What's your final thoughts? score and favorite scene for Mary.
Mary. I think I liked it a bit more than the rest of you did. For me, the performances and my affection for the actors definitely, kind of gave it a little higher level. It's not a flawless film by no stretch of the imagination. And the horror here is not front and center. A little bit more of a thinking man's horror film, I guess you would call it. But I'm going to give it a 3.25. But, it really is tough trying to come up with a favorite scene because there's just not a lot that goes on. A lot of it's just, acting kind of stuff. But I'm going to go with the scene when the boyfriend is out on the tip of, it doesn't look at me, you can tell I'm a sailor, the tip of the boat. I'm sure that has a name, whatever that is out there. And he's like talking to himself saying something like, she doesn't want you here. She doesn't want you here. She wants you all gone or something like that. And then he kind of freaks out. And that, I felt that was pretty atmospheric. I mean, that was kind of really our first true sign that something was majorly screwed up. We had little hints of things, but that was our first inkling that something really major was afoot. And our main characters reacted in kind to that whole thing because things got a little crazy there for a minute. So I'm going to go with that for my favorite scene. All in all, not a bad film. I'm going to watch it again, but I got to kind of agree with Crystal. If you can wait until it comes on HBO or Amazon Prime or something, that's probably the way to go.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be an Amazon Prime candidate really quick, isn't it? Sorry. All right, Jeff Mohr, give us your final thoughts. Your score, favorite scene?
Pretty much what we've been saying. I liked it. I thought it looked good. I thought the acting was good. And I thought they did a good job of showing things in that tight space, in the below deck on the ship. But I just felt like it was a little flat. I thought there was a lot more room for some scares there. I'm giving it a 2.75. And my favorite scene, I'm going to go with Lindsay takes a glass to the face.
Oh, yeah. I like that one, too.
I forgot about that. I like that.
Yeah, that was pretty good, that whole thing, because it was very unexpected.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
All right. Well, I'll keep this quick. For me, it was all over the place. I didn't like the procedural part of it where it had Jennifer Esposito questioning her and the whole thing. I don't know. That bothered me. Why not just do a straightforward story? But whatever. That was the choice they made. It is slow. The acting's great. Looks great. Didn't hate watching it, but I wanted more than what I got. So there is some letdown in the expectation area. So I'm going to go with a 2.25. Does that sound fair?
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite scene is... Okay, so what was the young boy's name? The boyfriend?
Tommy.
Tommy. All right, so we already talked about Tommy going wackadoodle-noodle, right? And they drop him off at an island on their way, and something crazy happens, and they're checking in on him. And Emily Mortimer's character walks in on David, who is Gary Oldman, and he's just standing there. So you're kind of like, what's going on here? Something's freaky going on. But basically, he found out what happened to Tommy. He did hang himself, which was alluded to with the noose hanging out when they couldn't find him. But what I liked about it was, and I mentioned this earlier, is that felt genuine. That felt earned. There was a lot that happened that I didn't really feel the emotion for, when they talked about their hardship and everything else. It just felt rather hollow and didn't really ring true. But this one scene did. So I'm going to, since this is basically a Lifetime movie, I'm going to choose that Lifetime moment and say that was my favorite scene.
No, that was good. That was a good emotional scene.
All right, that's it. That's our review for Mary from director Michael Goi, starring Gary Oldman, Jennifer Esposito, and Emily Mortimer. And it is coming out October 11th on VOD and digital and in few theaters out there. So check it out. If we have not discouraged you, I hope we haven't done that. Check it out. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that was a backhanded compliment. All right.
I think some of the cinematography would be fun to see in a theater.
Yeah,
that's me.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's also the unfortunate thing that Mary is, while it is appropriate name for this particular one because that's the name of the boat, the ship itself, right? And the young daughter. It is an incredibly difficult thing to do any research on because it's so common and simple. That is neither here nor there. All right, we reviewed 2 movies tonight. Along Came the Devil 2 from Jason DeVan. It's out October 11th. And Mary from Michael Goi. It's out October 11th as well. I hope you enjoyed our reviews. Oh, man. David, Jeff, Crystal, I want to thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's get out of here. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Good night.